Someone shot the food. Life force flooding out.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the most well put together, organized show on the internet that absolutely can't be derailed by sleeping cats and a sleeping human. It is Monday, January the 18th, 2021. Welcome back to your Mr. Video Game Live Super Show brought to you by Dead Sun Entertainment. I'm Slacker Kite. I'm the guy that sleeps too long. I'm still kind of tired, to be honest with you, but we're gonna fucking go through the news today, and we're gonna slam dunk that news into the news orifice of your face regions. I don't know how this works. I need a diagram. We've got a returning people with us here today. As always, we've got Brian Wonderboy. How you doing, buddy?
I don't think there's a diagram for what you just said that should
There's not
happen.
like a hole that the news gets slammed into when you cram-a-lam that information.
I mean, there's not like a set one except for my mouth. How's everyone doing?
Doing all right. Coop wants to kick it in the dick, so I think
Coop
that's a good
wants to
start.
kick everything in the dick.
But
Coop.
lately, Coop is getting more and more dead on with the whole kick it in the dick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, last night he definitely was correct in several dick kickings. So
Exactly.
yeah, it just shows up in the right time for dick kickings. Yeah, and I guess you're here. How is it going, Lady Marilyn?
Ow.
Ow.
Migraines suck. Work sucks. But I get to talk with all you lovely people, so I mean, it's not really a bad thing now, is it?
True.
I would hope not.
Although with your intro, I realized I've made like two grievous errors in like the last week.
Oh.
What's that?
Well, you see, Friday, while I was wallowing in depression of having to go back to work, and the mail arrived, and there was a really mysterious looking letter in it.
Mhm.
Turns out it's from my sister, who decided that it would be a cool idea to start actually writing physical letters because it's nice to receive something in your mailbox rather than like spam and bills.
Yeah.
And so that was super cool. So I started writing her a reply and I dated it, and I actually dropped it in the mailbox today, and my mom had done the same thing. She mailed me a letter and it arrived today. And so I wrote her a reply and I dropped it in the mailbox today and just realized that I dated them both January of 2020.
It is a year that doesn't end. It's just going to be 2020 forever. That's the year until the day we die, which will never happen because we'll never age.
Oh god. You mean I'm gonna be stuck at 36 for the rest of the world's existence, I guess, at that point?
Yeah, like Coop is right. This is just New Game Plus. It's it's 2020 HD Remix Edition.
Oh my god, no.
Curse it. Not on
Um,
board.
so I haven't been playing a whole lot of video games, to be honest. I've been like occupying my free time with painting for some fucking reason. I don't.
It's Sun.
It is, but I don't know where this I've known that I've wanted to fuck around with the Stuart Simple, the guy who makes like the blackest black and the pinkest pink and all that bullshit. I knew I wanted to fuck around with his paints for a while, and they're pretty. And of course, me being the idiot that I am, I decided to work on my first idea for actual abstract art, and it's 16 hours and maybe halfway done because I need to do double layers, so I have to keep waiting for paint to dry, literally. I'm a smart man.
Welcome to the joy of painting.
I did try out a game called Solitaria a bit. And like the premise on the box is it's solitaire, but also a roguelike. And I like those things. And then I played it, and it's neither solitaire nor a roguelike.
What?
I mean, it's a free game, so it's hard to be mad, but like, oh, okay, I like both of these things. And it's, you draw a card. It's more like if Uno had enemies you played against.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a good game. Like, it is something that I could see wasting time on because it's not bad. It's just pointless.
So the advertising versus the game were completely different, much like the Stanley Parable demo versus the Stanley Parable was very, very different.
Like, the game doesn't try to hide what it is by any means at all. It's just really underwhelming.
Huh.
Yeah, Coop in the chat, like, you slowly can add more cards to your deck that do better things, and you can hold more items, and what you can buy in the shop between rounds changes, but mostly you're fighting the same enemies, and mostly you're going to find the same items, and you're going to add a card to your deck, so you're mostly going to have the same deck every time, and... How about you guys? Lindsay, what you been playing lately?
Well, I mean, you saw what I've been playing lately. I played Stardew last night
Yeah,
because apparently. Oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
the longer you went, like, the more people showed up, and that was cool.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, just like people just
I'm
kept
not
showing up.
complaining.
When you decided to log out, like two more people showed up and like, what are you doing here?
Well, fuck.
Apparently you can never stop
Alas,
streaming.
no. I mean, well, between Coop and Spoon,
Hmm.
they've been trying to push for a 24-hour stream, and it's like, Christ.
Maybe you
It's
should
starting to look
consider
like
it.
I might not have a choice.
Just take a day off work, and eventually, if you stream long enough, you'll reach infinity viewers. I mean, just based upon the corollary of the numbers that we have so far.
I need to do this when I have like a week off so I can sleep. And yes, Coop, I completely concur. I'm on the downward slope to 40. So, yeah, my sister pointed that out today.
Aren't we all here on the downward slope to 40, or is Brian a young boy still?
I'm the no comment.
Yeah, he's still on the happy side of 35.
All right.
Um,
So I get to be the old man of Dead Son.
no, I mean, if we count Peter,
Mhm.
he turns 40 on the 25th.
Oh no. Wait, on the 25th? This 25th?
Yeah, this 25th.
Oh fuck. I need to do something for Peter. You only turned 40 once, and 40 is like the only number after 21 that really fucking matters. Like, I know you don't
Yeah.
unlock any, talk about this like a video game. You don't unlock any new spoilers or whatever. Yeah, you don't get anything, like, you don't get to drink or drive or get money off on, renting a car and all that bullshit. But, like, you look at 40, it's like, oh, that's middle aged. Shit.
Hey, Pi, thanks for all the biddies.
Nice.
Jesus Christ, all the biddies. Keeps
They-
going.
I'm not going to complain. You can keep handing me money. Like, I
Holy
will
hell.
absolutely take it.
Giant
Even if
pie.
you're using the PogChamp, I see what you're doing, and
God
I'm
damn
not
it.
against it.
But yeah, like Peter and I, we were talking, and he's like, my parents asked me what I want for my birthday, and I'm like, and what'd you tell them? He goes, I have no fucking clue.
Hmm.
Because he couldn't think of anything that he wanted. So we both, with our research level skill, like our god level research skills,
Mhm.
we both took to the internet to go, well, what the fuck is a traditional 40th birthday gift?
That's a bad idea.
Alcohol, apparently.
Alcohol?
And alcohol related shit. Like that's all I could find were like tumblers and custom engraved booze bottles. And Jesus, giant pie, you're still going.
I mean, he is Eastern European, so, like, it is in his DNA, so.
It is, but he I think he finally settled on a pair of hush puppies.
Like the shoes?
The shoes.
Look
Yeah,
here, you
old
little
man's
shit.
old man status confirmed.
You don't get to whine at me after you're asleep on my phone and then bite my hand when I try to get my mouse underneath you. Fucking nerd.
Oh my god, Pie, you just crushed your channel with biddies.
Thank you, Giant Pie. You giant weirdo. I appreciate you all the times.
The giantest and most Canadian of pies.
Uh, Brian, I understand you've been up to a few things lately. How you been, buddy?
I've been okay. I have been. I've been playing some stuff. One longer than some of the other ones, but
Hmm.
all things that have been really intriguing to me, at least over the past week or so. So, I guess the meat of this really is the fact that I've been playing a lot of Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity.
Oh.
Um, which I talked about a little bit on our Game of the Year, where that made an honorable mention on my list.
Hmm.
Um, and the main reason why is because like my partner and I have been searching for a co-op game to play for a while that feeds both of our interests. And they played the hell out of Breath of the Wild over the last like 2 or 3 months. Just like so much so that they ended up going back and buying all the DLC and restarting the game in master mode, and they've been enjoying that immensely. So I figured since that was their first Zelda game ever,
Hmm.
and they got so into it that I would buy Age of Calamity for them for Christmas, and we've been playing co-op alongside them playing their solo game um since then. And like I know like it's very easy, and I'm guilty of this, to just kind of like poo poo on the warrior style games as like derivative, repeating, dull, and that sort of thing. But the Hyrule Warriors actually is a lot of fun. It's very turn your brain off,
Hmm.
though.
Mhm.
Like whenever you're playing the actual like levels and stuff like that, outside of navigating the mini map, which some of the level design is frustrating on what you get hung up on in terrain and stuff, and the way that they design some of those things, especially when playing split screen. But game itself is really fun. It's been something that my partner and I have really enjoyed being able to play together, because up till then, like the main thing that we played together was like taking turns running Apex and watching each other play Apex, which that's only as fun as it can be, I would imagine. So I don't know. It's just been really fun to get in there and play. It's very pick up, easy to get a hold of, um, like any of the other Warriors games. The character diversity is really interesting. Obviously, the game is a prequel to Breath of the Wild. Um, so you get to play as like the champions, the that piloted the divine beasts, and that are kind of harkened to in Breath of the Wild, and it's just really interesting where it goes. And last night we hit a story point, a plot point that was so goddamn Zelda. I swear to God. Um, because I say that in that what is the one thing that the Zelda games are most notorious for online? What is the one thing that people try and dissect the most?
The fact that the fish people are thirst traps?
Other than that,
I don't I don't know exactly what you're going at, other than timeline oriented stuff?
timeline,
Okay.
timeline stuff. I don't want to necessarily get into spoilers, even though I think I'm the only person that has actually played this game in our whole channel audience, whatever. I know, Lens, you've expressed interest, at least in some way, so I'll hold the spoiler right now. But,
It's
but
gonna be a long time coming before I can get my hands on this game.
Yeah, like
Just
all right, well,
I played the
it's just
because
original Hyrule Warriors and I couldn't really get behind it. I was very confused by its existence. So,
well, let's just say like this game understands that that Zelda likes to fuck with the timeline.
mhm.
It understands that. It understands that all too well. And we hit a point in the story last night that is quintessentially that. And I am very curious to see where that goes. Because like up to that point, it was like very much like, okay, yeah, prequel to Breath of the Wild, the Calamity Ganon's coming, blah 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 blah, and then this happened. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? So it's I don't
I'm
know. It has surprises to it.
every time I hear Calamity Ganon, I start picturing it all as a Western because all I can think is Calamity Jane.
Here comes Calamity Ganon, everybody! Hide behind! Wild way! It's Calamity Ganon!
Exactly. And I mean, a Western version, like spaghetti Western version of um any Legend of Zelda game would be fucking hilarious. So
There are desert levels, so
yeah,
kind
but
of.
it's not
It's
an
not the same thing, but
no. I
no.
want like a Legend of Zelda Red Dead matchup.
God, that would be so weird.
I want to get back to this later, in a later story, kind of ties into this a little bit. So I'm going to ask you further questions when we get to that.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
definitely. No, but yeah, I'm like 20 hours in at this point, or together we're 20 hours in. They played ahead of me. They knew that was coming, and they were waiting to see what my reaction would be, knowing that I have like more knowledge of the Zelda series than they do. So it was just a very fun moment last night, and I just needed to talk about it a little bit. Um, the other games I've been playing are a couple of little indie games. They're one is new, one's been out for a little while, but I just got my hands on it. Round Guard came out last year, and as Travis knows very well, I am a sucker for Peggle. I absolutely adore Peggle as a concept. Round Guard is Peggle, but roguelite Peggle.
What?
Everything's becoming a roguelite now.
It's roguelite Peggle with boss fights and like RPG mechanics and looting in like leveling up. It's really it sounds more complicated I think than it actually is in the way I'm describing it, but there's like classes of characters to choose from. You play through like dungeons, there's daily challenges, there's weekly challenges, there's like new gear to get, new powers to get. It's just really is I've been like I have not had found something that has given me that Peggle itch since Peggle. And since I don't have Peggle on the regular to play at the moment, this was a very pleasant surprise. I am really enjoying it. Um, I believe it's available on all consoles, and I think it's on mobile as well.
Hmm.
I think it was actually nominated for Games Radar's Best Mobile Game of the Year. I want to
Hmm.
say. So like it's just really fun. And I've been really enjoying that. It's been a nice little respite from some of the larger things, especially coming off of Last of Us Part 2,
Yeah.
like finishing that game up, just finding something, and also like taking another break from Cyberpunk because fuck all. I tried to play Cyberpunk again and I played some of it, and then I found a bug where if I crashed my car into the river, I couldn't get out of the river even though the ladder was standing staring me right in the face. And I got so angry that I almost threw my controller. So I just needed to take another break from Cyberpunk. We'll get back to Cyberpunk though. Round
Um,
Guard Round Guard is outstanding though. I suggest anybody that has a fleeting interest in any kind of like Peggle or roguelite sort of game that isn't necessarily as like timing combat focused. Um, give that a try. And then the other game I've been playing is called Sunlight, and this just released last week from a small developer named Krillbright,
Okay.
based out of Norway. And it's basically a walking simulator, but the game like it puts you in a forest. And it's very tranquil and very calming, and all the trees talk to you. um and they tell you the story about and they tell you the story about like being overcome by these feelings, these it's kind of getting in tune with your body and in tune with your senses, and trying to like really like feel your bones breathing. Yeah, it's one of those. It's artsy as fuck. and, and you know me, I'm into my artsy as fuck shit. So, but no, the game is out. The game's really good. It's short too. It's only about 45 minutes for a playthrough. They just launched on Steam, um, and it's so calming. And I bring this game up really because I've been trying to find new ways to like help cope with anxiety, like such as me popping a fucking edible before I jumped on this podcast. What up? Um, and like in doing so, like I've been going back to like guided meditation and you know um, CBD CBD stuff, and I've also been getting into ASMR
Mm.
as a way of coping with some of that stuff and trying to like settle myself and center myself. This game has a very similar effect as ASMR would on your
Fuck yeah.
body. It's just very like they're like all the trees have different voices and they all mingle together and they're all telling the same story, saying the same dialogue at almost the same cadence. But it's all these different voices just like showering over you as you walk through this forest and pick up flowers, and they keep telling you the story, and there's like a little musical stings here and there, and it's just very much about like really getting in tune with yourself in that way. And I've really enjoyed it. I'm probably gonna end up this will be something I go back to multiple times, honestly. And I really suggest anybody that's looking for something that just kind of wants to help center you and not put a ton of stress. I mean, the game opens up. The opening dialogue is basically like, "Hey, relax, like just sit back and let this whole thing envelop you. It's okay to just relax and let your thoughts go." Like it's set up in that way so that it can tell you its story about getting in tune with yourself. So I've really enjoyed it. I think it's on Steam right now. I can't remember if it came to console or not, but I'll double check on that. But I've really enjoyed it, and um it's really cool.
All right, I have three questions, and they're all entirely unrelated. First off, Giant Pie, did your Bitcoin check train just come in today? Is that what's going on? Or you just really want to chide me over my feelings over PogChamp? Fair enough. Brian, this is completely unrelated to video games, but it's something I really like. Have you ever heard of a an application called Headspace?
Yes, I have. I
All right.
actually wrote an article about in the long ago about meditation apps, and Headspace was definitely one of the ones that I wrote about.
Hey, fuck yeah! Like it's like $60 a year, and I mean that's a prohibitive cost, depending upon it. But like between they've added a move app since then to like get you to both meditate and exercise at the same time, and fucking love that thing. Third question, and most importantly, for round guard,
Hmm.
how would you rate it on a scale of 0 to Puzzle Quest?
Mm. Well, considering that I I recognize Puzzle Quest as being very good,
Mhm.
but also I did not play a ton of Puzzle Quest. So I would say Puzzle Quest. Like I really like it. I really, really like it.
All right, that's the most casual game that I can literally say I wrecked the fuck out of and have no regrets. Like, for, I want to say, the better part of a year, that game did not leave my DS. That and Meteos were the two games on the DS that just, like, no, that's my everyday game.
No, oh, and I can confirm, Sunlight is only available on Steam at the moment. So,
Gotcha.
yep.
All right. Let's just drop into our actual stories. God damn it, PogChamp. You've completely changed how I'm going to approach this now. Just
Has he?
I can't be as mad at this currently as I would have been, but this is something that, like, this is the kind of thing that I never thought I would have to in any way discuss on a fucking video game podcast. But here we are in the year of our Lord 2021, and there was an American insurrection attempt. You might remember it. It was a little thing in the news a while ago, and the blowback to it even reached as far as fucking Twitch. In the fact that the original face of the PogChamp boy turned out to, like, I knew jack shit about this guy. I just thought, like, wasn't he one of the people that originally worked?
Jesus Christ, Pie.
Hi, I understand bitcoins have gone up, but Jesus, anyway. I understand PogChamp boy now is kind of an asshole. I just thought he worked for Twitch, and I guess he did at some point. And now I've seen all the information. Go ahead.
Yes, he worked like tangentially with Twitch. Like he was like a host with them at just at different points. I think most famously that one like symposium at like the was at the White House, I think,
Mhm.
where like Twitch was there talking about how gaming and politics or something like that work together. I don't know.
Yeah, it's always good. We remember when Matt Pat visited the Pope. It's always best foot forward. And he had nothing but positive things to say about the fucking insurrection, and every single social media site took a look at this and went at the same time, oh look, we've reaped what we sowed, and did an about face and kicked everyone related off. And Twitch removed Mr. PogChamp boy. And I can't fucking blame them for that. But then came the question of, what do you do when you get rid of something that has been a part of Twitch culture? And here, I'm not going to read this. I'm just going to scroll right past. But, you know, hey, you can watch the VOD. You can go to this, pause the video. I don't give a fuck. So they decided to remove his image. And actually, there is not an update of this particular article, but I'm sure I can find it real quick. Where they had a time where they couldn't really figure out what to do about PogChamp. And they decided to replace it by a new face for Mr. PogChamp every 24 hours, despite keeping the name relating directly back to the same person, highlighting some small streamers in the Twitch space. Which, you know, when suddenly you get blown up out of nowhere when you are a small streamer, and suddenly, like, yeah, everyone knows your face, it can be good, but we've also seen how it can be really fucking bad. One of the people, a POC, who said that white lives don't matter because they don't exist, which, you know, to go through what that actually would mean, Irish lives matter, yes. British lives matter. Yes, there is no such thing as white lives. That is something that we randomly decided to bring about all of the people of a complexion fairer than beige under one hood for reasons that continue to confuse me because, like, Italians and Irish are completely fucking different cultures, but here we are. We're all white, apparently, and I understand that statement. But when suddenly the whole internet decides to come in and scrutinize one fucking line that you said in your entire life, that's dope as shit, right? That's real awesome. And PogChamp should not exist, is my argument. Fucking get rid of it. Stop doing this every 24 hours. It has become an absolute fucking disaster. There's the article I was looking for. So ultimately, fuck PogChamp, get rid of this emote. I understand that it is a money cow for Twitch. And boy, they are reticent to get rid of it, but fuck PogChamp.
No, I think like we were discussing in our like Discord earlier this week around some of this stuff. One, I
Brian?
It's not just my internet being weird, it's everybody.
No. Sadly, I think Brian was going to give us one of our best Brian responses, and I don't hear him anymore.
can you hear me?
I hear you
Can
now.
you hear me?
Yay!
Okay, I don't know
Back.
what happened there, but I'm back. Anyway, um, but calling what was I don't know what the last thing I said. But basically, the point I was before I make the point I was planning on making. The first point I want to make is that calling Gutex an asshole is the understatement of the fucking century. Dude is a blatant seditionist anti-vaxxer who constantly spouts alt-right talking points online now, and honestly is calling for more violence against those that don't agree with him politically. He's been out there doing the real shitty thing of trying to get people to co-opt the "say her name" hashtag for the insurrectionists who died in during the run on the Capitol. Also tweeting out a lot about MAGA martyrdom, which doesn't bode well for movements that already are stoked in so much violent rhetoric and violent action. Um, Two, um, the original point I wanted to make is that because of that association that Gutex has and his association to the PogChamp name, those two qualifiers are basically interchangeable for him at this point. Even though he has, excuse me, real quick.
No problem.
Sorry, my voice is fucking with me. Um, Even though like he really has not been relevant in the gaming world for anything other than the emote for years at this point, I mean, he basically fell out of any kind of favor with anybody whenever Street Fighter 4 stopped getting updated because he was specifically a Street Fighter 4 guy.
Hmm.
Um, and after that, like his YouTube channel just basically stopped producing stuff. He kind of went away. He pop up here and there. He'd be involved with Twitch a little bit here and there, but at this point, he is one of the most toxic elements of the toxicity in this environment, and it's still skirted by Twitch because Twitch constantly has their bottom line at mind,
Mhm.
and knows that, like you said, the PogChamp emote is a cash cow for them. Um, but Gutex and PogChamp are interchangeable at this point. So much so that I, who even has just a tangential understanding of who he is as a person, uses them interchangeably whenever
Mhm.
I talk about him. The rare occurrences that I talk about him. So in that instance, any effort to try and rebrand PogChamp under a different image or or a variety of different images as they have been doing is a mute point at this point. It's something that really cannot be done. It just keeps the legacy of this person alive, and the people that support him will go after the people that they use visually to represent PogChamp every time they switch it. We've seen issues where people have been bombarded with negativity and toxicity because of being included in this 24-hour rotation of PogChamp. The name is synonymous with sedition. And I'm sorry, but sometimes your bottom line doesn't matter as as much as maintaining society, maintaining peace as best that we can, and at least not in promoting someone whose messages could um, and more than likely have at some point pushed people towards radicalization when it comes to the alt right movement that we've seen in this country.
Always want to thank Nathan Grayson for the breakdown of why, because I didn't understand the bits and pieces of what was going on with the PogChamp thing. Because I don't know if you know, I don't watch a whole lot of Twitch really. I do watch a fair amount of YouTube, some VODs after the fact, but I don't really have this desire to be a part of it happening in the moment. I absolutely get it, but so I'm a little removed from Twitch culture, so I didn't really know a whole lot about this until one, I read this, and two, there was a pretty good video, the fall of PogChamp guy. I can't even remember his fucking name, and it's not worth trying to remember it at this point, as far as I'm concerned. Um, but yeah, there's the guy was planning on making that video before everything happened, and then it was just kind of like, oh well, this is fucking prescient. um yeah, I understand what Twitch was trying to do, and I'm not going to be mad at Twitch for attempting to highlight smaller streamers using attempting to use something that was very negative in a positive way. I get the concept, but you're going to have to walk away from this because PogChamp, as you said, is so fucking tied to this one guy. We've all seen his face so many times. I understand Poggers is entirely a Twitch part of Twitch culture. The saying Pog, that so Pog using it as a verb or a noun is very much a part of Twitch culture at this point, so it's a little awkward to get rid of, but the arm is gangrenous. We have to get rid of it.
Well, here's the thing. Like people can say "pog" all they want. They can say "pog" or "poggers" or whatever they want in chat all they want, and let moderators deal with whatever they want to deal with, however whatever attitude they take towards it.
Hmm.
That's something that people can do on their own. Twitch as a company, by continuing to use PogChamp, is tacitly endorsing him still. Like I'm sorry, his face might be gone, but everybody knows who that was. Everybody knows what that refers to. It's a toxic branding that honestly should have been gone from day one. I totally blame Twitch for not taking the proper steps to actually, like, if they wanted to do something, this is like the most halfway step of halfway steps. It's not even a halfway step.
Hmm. Yeah, this whole controversy really should not have happened. I mean, all of these controversies that have been going on the last week seem a whole lot of too little too late.
There are other ways that you can highlight small streamers.
Hmm.
Carve out some blocks on the front page for them. Work with them to promote their product and help them, like, maybe help them get to affiliate status easier. Help them, like, that sort of thing. That's stuff that you can do within your own product that doesn't tacitly endorse someone who is calling on violence towards the United States government.
Yeah, you would think
Because
that
that's what
statement
I mean,
would be real
let's face it.
simple.
That's what I mean. That is what Twitch is still connecting itself to by keeping PogChamp as something on their site.
Hmm. Hmm. Marilyn, any
Mhm.
thoughts here? Anything you want to throw in?
I really not really on this. It's just a flat out mess.
I don't like it. It hurts my head.
And the problem is, like, Twitch has gone too deep at this point. Regardless of what they do at this point, they fucked they have screwed the pooch. So this sucks regardless. That's my final takeaway. Like, I don't have anything positive to say at the end of this. This whole situation here, it's all fucked. And I'm going to move on to something else that's fucked, but to a smaller extent.
Smaller extent is good.
The Harry Potter RPG that people have been talking about has been delayed to 2022. As far as statements, they want to make the best game possible, rada rada. We've gotten very used to games being delayed currently. I have to imagine distancing themselves from the problems that Rowling has made for the franchise that she created may have something to do with it. To take time to get away from the two. I understand there are a lot of people who have a lot of very positive experience with Harry Potter that maybe learned more about who they are in the world through it. But anyway, if they were looking to make anything positive of this game, I think that might be the only way to do it is to delay and hope that she slowly slithers away and dies.
She's not going anywhere.
I wish she would. You left, the Harry Potter thing, and then other people can, take up the Harry Potter thing. Other people who are nice. Daniel Radcliffe was a good boy. And I don't think, his legacy, because everyone's going to remember him for the rest of his life as Harry Potter boy, should really be, tarnished by toxicity.
I mean, toxicity, yes. Transphobia specifically. No, like delaying the game, like they have their reasons, and I'm not going to fault any studio for delaying a game for any reason based off of what we have been talking about for the past month, specifically around another game we'll get to later. But at the same time, like if they are simply doing this delay to try and create some distance between themselves and J.K. Rowling's full turfdom spree in 2020, then I question the motivations, but also like we're at a place where we can really only speculate.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously some of this does have to go with the development cycle. Let's face it, like Harry Potter games have not been the best of things
No.
No.
in the history of them, and the promises that were being made for this one are hefty, and I'm sure that they want all the time in the world to make sure they get those right. um, and they can try and take as much time to maybe get out of the way of some of the J.K. Rowling comments, especially considering there have been reports, like you said, about people at the studio feeling uncomfortable about working on the game post Rowling going mask off turf last year. But yeah, um, let them delay the game, see what they put out there. I don't know. I've never been really a Harry Potter person, so it doesn't really, as a franchise, it doesn't really matter to me. And then when J.K. Rowling said all the shit that she did, it really didn't matter to me. So yeah.
So, like, my sister-in-law bought me all of the book when I was way back in fucking college. And I wasn't interested in them before, and it was like, well, I'll give them a try. I have to imagine that my sister-in-law right now, I haven't really, I didn't ask her about it when I last visited, because, there's only a couple hours, but I would be really interested to hear what, a vegan hippie who based a lot of, their likes and dislikes around this franchise specifically, and that helped raise their children and whatnot, feels about this. It's such a fucking complicated piece of media because there's a lot of very positive things in it, and then once you start really digging at it, there's a whole lot of real fucking negative shit in those books too. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Like for me, I've got a lot of fond memories of this series. Um, it started the series came out when my sister was very, very, very young.
Mm.
And so this was kind of what she learned how to read. Like this is a series that taught her how to read and taught her how cool books could be. And we bonded over that because I've always been a huge bookworm.
Mm.
And so to see all of the bullshit that's been happening and to see the opinions of the author, it's been soul crushing. And the only reason I've been interested in this game is because she's not involved.
I think that's the best
Um,
thing, even if she is going to get probably a chunk, well, definitely a chunk of the proceeds from this. There are far more people than her, and she has not really contributed anything to this.
exactly. Like, uh, I mean, if you guys are delaying because you want to make sure it's a great game that stands up to the legacy presented by this series and to be able to allow us to actually explore this world because that's why I wanted to play it. Um, good on you. If you want to be able to do this without crunch, even better on you. If you're doing it to try to hide from negative PR and potential bad sales, less good on you. But I'm hoping it's due to lack of crunch.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of studios right now are going to take a look at the current environment and maybe delay things a little bit further.
I mean, it would be a really good method of escapism.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. We have 45 minutes left in the show, so I'm going to move on to our next chunk. We're going to casually slide off into Nintendo land and talk about what they have been up to because they've actually had some interesting things what going on. Nintendo has acquired Next Level Games, a company that made, I believe, Mario Strikers and other games previously. Luigi's Mansion 3, I believe, as well. Worked very closely with Nintendo since like the mid aughts, so they already might as well have been a second party company, but this just seems to make it official.
Yeah, they've been development partners with Nintendo for a while, like you said, and a lot of their focus has been on Nintendo products. So it makes sense that Nintendo will purchase them. Nintendo isn't really known for buying studios, so this is somewhat big news um, in that way. But it really just it really just cements Next Level as um, really being a key working cog in Nintendo's machine going forward. They showed, I mean, look, you just have to look at Luigi's Mansion 3
Mm.
as proof as to what they can put out there and what they can and how they can translate that into commercial sales. As Daniel Ahmad here points out on Twitter, Luigi's Mansion is on track to outsell the both of the previous Luigi's Mansion games combined. Um, because that game is just really good. Also, Guigi's in it, and Guigi makes everything better.
I don't.
So yeah,
Hmm.
it's a no-brainer. It's a complete no-brainer. Also, now you have Nintendo forming a little partnership with Canada there. So yeah.
Canada, finally not getting. We're still going to be the last ones to get any releases.
Hey, you know what though? You gave us Guigi, and for that there is no reciprocal gift of value,
Guigi,
comparable
truly
value.
a Canadian representative if ever there was one.
Guigi.
We also.
I'm starting to wonder if there's a cult surrounding Guigi and if our dear Wonder Boy has been indoctrinated into said cult.
He's so sticky.
Guigi.
Oh
He can
god,
fit
I'm suddenly
anywhere.
glad I don't have a Switch.
Can fit anywhere and suck on it.
Oh god.
Anyway,
So,
We have this labeled as a mature channel, right?
not
I'm
sure.
not saying anything that's not that I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying
Hey,
Sticky Boy got a
Nintendo
sucking machine.
has put out some trailers for some new games to expect this year. Games we are already aware were in development, but we didn't really have a timeline for them. New Pokemon Snap, looking very fucking pretty. Obviously continuing with the Sword and Shield look and feel here, but some very gorgeous artwork going into this from what I've seen so far. And of course, you're going out and looking for all of your favorite Pokemons that I could not possibly name a single one. Not to knock on Pokemon. If it's not Gen 1, I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at anymore. I know Pichu. I know that one. Yeah. And that's a doof. But this is adorable as shit. And it might get me to poke my head back into the Pokemons, so that's cool. I like it. This is neat.
I will just my only point on this is I will revert back to the debate that that we had in between myself and I can't remember if it was Graves or um Giant Pie. I feel bad that I can't remember exactly who it was, but the debate that we had in chat over an episode regarding Pokemon Snap and Pokemon Stadium. There's a new Pokemon Snap, and I don't see a new Pokemon Stadium. So who wins?
Because like Pokemon, the OG Pokemon Snap and Pokemon Stadium were both same gen, right? Like they were both N64-ish
Yeah.
era.
Yeah.
They were. And I say that mostly in jest. Like it's whatever. Like what you like. I'm not like that's fine. But like this, I really like Pokemon Snap and Pokemon. I'm glad that there's a new version of this. It's very interesting though that this is coming just months after Bug Snacks released. I know obviously this isn't like they saw Bug Snacks and we gotta crank one out, but it's just really funny that we're getting two of those types of games really, within like a year of each other.
Yeah, Nintendo is very interesting in what they have decided to put out. A lot of very safe IPs is what I would say is what they're looking at coming up. The other game that they have given us a release date on is the Switch release that people have been waiting on of Super Mario 3D World. Probably one of the best games on the Wii U, and I think the last holdout of good games on the Wii U to get ported to the Switch. Is coming soon, and also with a brand new additional DLC. That when I'm not going to say it until it fucking comes up in this video because saying it is fucking hilarious if you have not seen it already. But yeah, I am already sold. This is coming out literally like on the week of my birthday, so a good part of that week will be spent playing this fucking game, and it looks like chill good times.
I played the hell out of this on the Wii U.
And you get a Bowser Jr. to come hover around. Was Bowser Jr. there in the original, or is this all DLC shit?
I don't know. Like I played the hell out of it, but I never got off out of the first world, so
Oh, fair enough.
I'm really bad at these games, but I like playing them.
Speaking of goo, we got Goo Bowser.
Nah, that's Tar.
Goo and
He's
Tar,
gone
very
back
different
to the
things.
They're pulling in California. He has spawned from the La Brea Tower Pits, like the primordial dragon that he is.
Fucking Bowser looking like a Kuma.
Yeah, this is some badass looking shit. Now, admittedly, it does pull a little bit of the style of Calamity Ganon, I feel, but like, that's cool as hell. That is the most menacing Bowser has been in 5 million years. And then this! Giant fucking cat Mario versus Bowser.
You said that as if you had a problem with it.
I do not. I do not have
Okay.
remotely a
Sorry, I
problem
was
with
about to get confrontational because I'm like,
it.
So
no, give me that.
they're doing an homage to Godzilla movies.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Which they've done kind of with Bowser before, but this comes out Friday, February the 12th. I'm sorry, my brain looks at what should be the actual date style the world goes by and kind of fucks with it a little bit because my silly American brain can't process. But yeah, coming out February the 12th, and it is going to be pretty as hell, and I'm going to fuck with it. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, Kaiju Mario sounds great.
I, alas,
I'm
still
here
do not
for
have
it.
a Switch, so
Maybe,
working on it.
maybe the borders will open. That would be nice.
You don't want to come up here right now. It's scary.
It's
I try
scary
not to
here.
leave. Yeah, but Canada's supposed to be the safe place.
All right, the last bit of Nintendo news. Impressions of Persona 5 Strikers have started to come out. Um, the Warriors like Persona 5 game. And from the description of the games that people have, of the game that many have mentioned, Mike Fahey here included, that it is very similar to Warriors, but instead of the large ambushes and whatnot, there is a whole lot of Persona 5 style gameplay hiding a boot in it. You have to switch out with your comrades in order to best use your elemental attacks to give you an all out attack. And there's a lot of, from what it sounds like, a lot of interesting JRPG style strategy that will take place here that I don't think we've seen in a warrior style game ever. And that is where I wanted to ask Brian, like, do they often change these, warrior style games to match closer to the gameplay of the actual game they're representing, or is this unusual for them?
This is incredibly unusual for them. I would say because really the Dynasty Warriors like MO is there. It's the reason why Muso games have the reputation that they do and why the same jokes are made over and over again. It is exactly how this article describes them. Large battlefields, just an unending amount of fodder to fight through, and that sort of thing. And even whenever they have like done spin-off series, like they did with the excuse my throat. Um, Whenever they span off and did the Gundam Warriors series, and then now with Hyrule Warriors, they really didn't change the style of gameplay. They just kind of like morphed it around some of the more recognizable attacks and actions from the characters in those properties. Like it's still basically like playing Hyrule Warriors is still basically feels exactly like playing Dynasty Warriors, in that way. This is completely different in approach
Mm.
because like while the fights from what I've read, like the fights definitely have that Warriors feel because you're fighting against a group of people. It's not the same amount or same scope as the battlefields in Dynasty Warriors and all its offshoots are. The fact that they have you working through dungeons in the way that they do, and choosing to engage in combat and engaging with enemies in the same way that you would do in Persona 5, or at least closer to it, is really interesting. This marks a breakaway from the regular Muso recipe that
Mm.
they've been doing for a long time. And I'm sure this is a breath of fresh air for people that, have long since, heard Omega Force and have been like, oh, we know what we're getting. They've done a lot of work in the past, like with Age of Calamity, and then going into this, like there's a lot of work that to differentiate at least those two games from the previous Warriors games, I would say. Hyrule Warriors doesn't feel that way in like playing it, but like the element of story there feels a lot more refined in how they're telling it and that sort of thing. Just little touches here and there that I really like. And then this, like, they are really leaning into the persona aspect of it, and I'm really glad. I hope that this pays off for them. It seems like a really good mix of the two elements in that way.
Yeah, interestingly, coming to PlayStation 4, Switch, and Steam. So, interesting combination for Atlas that usually, or games spun off from them anyway, that you wouldn't really expect. But um, as somebody that enjoyed the first half of Persona 5, I'd love to see where they go with it. So I might be dipping my toes into this as well when it drops. Surprisingly.
Also, I'm sure that this is nowhere near as long as Persona 5
Oh
is.
god, I hope so.
So it definitely removes that barrier to entry for you. If you don't want to play the 120-hour fucking JRPG,
Oh, Persona 5 was so cool looking until, like, you reach 70 hours and it still looks the same, and you're just, I got real fucking tired of it, and then I hate fucked the game to death. So I'm excited to see it in bite-sized form in a different layout. All right. So moving on to the other large story of the day, the story that
hooray.
refuses to die. Let's talk about Cyberpunk some goddamn more. Yeah, they decided to wheel out their management and have CD Projekt's leadership have a direct talk to the people, and rather than really saying literally anything new, they basically dropped a roadmap for what the future of the game looks like. And I'm going to say that I'm legitimately interested in the DLC, not just because I am actually a huge fucking fan of train wrecks, which I very much am, but at the same time, there is a lot of interesting things that they could potentially do with this. But um, man, what a really crappy. Like, they just keep doing this thing where they keep drawing attention to it and doing nothing with the attention they're drawing. Why are you doing this to yourself?
I will argue that they did do something with this attention, and it's something that hurts them further.
Oh?
So like you said, the only real thing of note to come out of this statement from I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, the co-CEO of CDPR, was the roadmap. Them basically saying that they're delaying the PS5 and Xbox Series X versions of the game until later in 2021, and they're also delaying the free DLC until after their next two major patches for the game are released. Um, which is whatever. That's cool. You gave us a roadmap. That's fine. I was expecting that. But the real story out of this is the fact that in trying to in saying that they were going to explain why the issues with the PS4 and Xbox X and the Xbox One's versions of the games were so bad that Sony delisted the game. I'm going to probably say that more than once in this whole diatribe here because it needs to be reminded that Sony pulled the game for sale. Like he said in this statement that he was going to explain that, and then proceeded to not explain that at all. Did not give really any details outside of the fact that he basically said that they didn't know that the game was in the state that it was in because during their testing phases they didn't catch the bugs that were present in the game, which completely threw their QA department under the bus. The leadership of CDPR threw their QA department like out to the wolves in this way because and a number of people that work in QA went to Twitter and were very vocal about that fact. because there is no way a QA department would not have come across these things. There's no way. And I'm sure that whenever they did come across these things, they were passing along the message to the leadership
Mhm.
there. That they knew about this. I'm sorry, you can't. There's no way to explain that away, and we'll get into even more the reason why you can't explain that away in a second. But this statement is 5 minutes of fluff.
Mhm.
It really says nothing at all. It just made the situation worse for them because we got a little bit more of the mask pulled up. Whenever they were so quick. They were saying, and the thing that's frustrating the most for me is that in the same statement, they were saying, "Hey, don't go after the devs. They just worked on the game. They built the game out. The decision to release it was on leadership's behalf, and you should blame leadership." And then he, like, in the span of like 2 minutes, transfers that blame onto the QA department. Like, I'm sorry that you don't get to do that.
Yeah, no, like you fucked up. The statement should be you didn't listen to what QA had to say because you decided that that wasn't really what you wanted to hear. You refused to listen to QA saying, "Hey, this game's glitched to fuck," because you wanted to put it out, and it was like, "Yeah, no, we've got enough time to fix all the little scrappy details. It's fine." So we're going to go to the IGN article. A whole lot of original work done by Jason Schreier of Bloomberg, but as you may have known, going through here, Bloomberg going through articles in incognito mode is not happy, so we'll get the information off of IGN. But do read Jason Schreier's work from Bloomberg. And boy, he really delved into it. And you know what? For once, Brian, I think you might be a better person to really go into the details here, because I think you got more feeling on this one and more energy behind this than I really do, because there's a lot fucked in here, and trying
There
to
is a
wrap my brain around it is difficult.
So Jason Schreier spoke with around 20 current and former developers that worked for CDPR during the course of Cyberpunk's development, and a number of enlightening and scathing points came out of those discussions. Probably the most notable being that, at least in my opinion, the most notable being that while the game was announced in 2012, they didn't actually start really proper development on it until 2016.
I'm
Um,
sorry, what?
Yeah, that
yeah,
adds up to me.
yeah. Now, granted, I have a sense of possibly understanding why it might not have. It's hard to quantitate exactly what full development means, and also we're talking about a time span where they were finishing development on The Witcher 3 as well. So definitely their focus was on that as opposed to Cyberpunk. But there had to have been some work going on there. But either way, the report is that they didn't actually start developing Cyberpunk 2077 in proper until 2016. Which, so for all of us that have been pointing out that they had 8 years to make this game, they really only had 4.
Mhm.
And because of that, it made sense why you saw so many delays, because originally this game was supposed to come out in spring of 2020. And of
Mhm.
course, we saw it get pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And a lot of and that was actually kind of a godsend in a way, in a very, very small way for the dev team, because at E3 2020 or 2019, whenever they announced that the game would be released in April of 2020, reportedly the dev team, the developers there at CDPR, were left scratching their heads and wondering how they were ever going to hit that release date. They in the minds of multiple developers at the studio, they looked at Cyberpunk 2077 as a game that will be released in 2022.
Hmm.
I'll let that one sink in for a second. They thought that they were on a development cycle that would end 2 years from when the game was actually released, which speaks exactly to why like how do you get a game that the developers are expecting that's in a state where they expect it to come out in 2022 to come out at the end of 2020. And that kind of leads into a lot of the stuff around the crunch culture there. There were reports basically saying that employees were bribed or pressured into working overtime on the game to get it to where it was at release. Because I'm not going to say get it where it needed to be, because this game is nowhere near where it needs to be. Um, but yeah, it had all that stuff out there, and then probably the most salacious thing going around right now is that their claims that the demo that was released at E3 2019 was fake. I don't necessarily know how you quantify that, because and this gets into a little bit of CDPR's response to this, because they quickly responded. Um,
Yeah, didn't really talk to Jason Schreier while he was developing the article, because nobody ever talks to Jason Schreier when he's developing an article. They just respond after the fact.
Yeah, so they basically responded saying yeah, it wasn't fake, it was just a vertical slice, which is the nature of a lot of demos at E3. It's basically the team taking time to work on a specific thing to showcase the thing at those major platforms, and continuing to work on the game and afterwards, usually with some changes here and there. And the demo itself had the make it made in progress watermark on it, as CDPR points out in their response to it. And that's fine and dandy. I think a lot of people that have a working knowledge of how these things go understands that what you're seeing at E3 is not 100% what you're going to get on the day of release. But at the same time, there's if it's not actually faked, there has to be some smoke to that fire, in terms of how much work went into it that took away from the dev cycle, to get other things working properly. Also, how and I heard this was a point that was made by Imran Khan on Kind of Funny Games Daily today, like pointing to journalists as making sure that they represent what they are seeing and covering in these demos as well. A number of places will cover these sort of things and not necessarily stress how much of a work in progress things are, or that this is not the final product that they are looking at and judging coming out of E3. So it's really more about building up the literacy around that as well, in terms of press coverage too.
I mean,
um
it harkens back a little bit, I think, to now, oddly, it was very prescient, but when we were looking at the demo that leaked of the State of Avengers game last year, and we were looking at well, a lot of the time, this is just a vertical slice of a game. They really haven't polished it yet. You can tell they haven't added in the sound effects, right? So this probably isn't really this is still a year out until it's actually released, so clearly there's going to be changes. It probably won't even play like this by the time it gets released, so this is just them showing off what they've done so far. Okay, cool. That usually does happen. I haven't actually watched the original trailer for what was shown. I think I did see it once, but haven't watched it recently to remember at this point what it actually looked like versus what the game really did do. I know that there are several car chases within the game that take place. So it's not as if they didn't use car chases within the game or anything, or some of the ideas that I know that they had shown off previously. But at the same time, yeah, there is a lot of when we hype things as much as people hyped this game before it came out, you're building really, really weird expectations based upon what has been put out so far. And we've seen, going back to the early aughts, these demos being released by major publishers tend to end up different from the real game, and that is both a problem and understandable. A lot of the time, they don't update us on what is going to be different between what they showed us and what actually releases, and that's real bad. And this is real bad.
No, and to point out Kel's statement, yeah, vertical slices are used for that as well. But when it comes to E3 demos, there are multiple stories out there, people detailing about how they worked like beyond their means at times to make sure that E3 demos did not crash. or that E3 demos were stable enough to maintain like being held together with like duct tape and um paper clips. And I know that you know this, Kelv. I'm preaching to the choir in this way, but like it's not just about, it's not as simple as that, as like taking a piece of what they've been working on and throwing it out there. There's a lot of other elbow grease that can go into that, which leads into the work culture there as well. Because another thing that we didn't point out about that first statement from CDPR was that the video was accompanied by a Q&A that was on their website, where they brought up the fact that with them working to patch the game as quickly as they are, and with all these updates coming later on in the year at least scheduled at this point, um, how is that going to affect the labor issues that CDPR has been undertaking during the development of Cyberpunk 2077? Because there have been multiple reports that we have reported on here on this show, and we have discussed extensively on this show, regarding the years long crunch cycle that this game went under to get it ready to ship, um, or quote unquote ready to ship, um, at the end of the year. Yeah. So it's one of those things where, like, because of that, they went on the Q&A and said that there will be no obligatory overtime for any employee at CDPR during the course of this continued support of Cyberpunk 2077, which is very keen phrasing for something, because no obligatory overtime does not mean no crunch.
Mm.
It does not mean that. It means that they will not force you to. It does not mean that they will not pressure you, that they will not try to push you, or they will not try to bribe you. They will not try to woo you into doing that.
Or, several times Jason Schreier would mention in the article things along the lines of, they would say, well, yeah, if you're not available this week to work, that is fine. We'll just find someone else to do the work that you'll not be able to do this week. So, it's a little bit exploitative, to say the least.
Yeah, it's incredibly exploitative. You're threatening. You're basically like tacitly threatening someone's position if they don't work an 80-hour work week. And fuck that. Like we are so beyond the point where this is acceptable. It never should have been. It never should have been. And so like CDPR is being very very coy in their messaging to try and like work around a lot of the issues that CDPR has faced around the development of this game. And that doesn't even get into like the most bewildering part of their response to Jason Schreier's piece, because for some reason in the response to it, they decided to brag about how the PC version of Cyberpunk got 9 out of 10s from multiple established and distinguished gaming outlets, which, cool. No one's talking about the PC version of this game. They're talking about the versions that don't work, the versions that are not currently for sale digitally on major platform because of the state that it was released in. Not to mention all of the other cultural issues around this game. So you can brag about all the 9 out of 10s you want. You have done nothing to assuage the transphobia in this game. You have done nothing to assuage the sexist stuff in this game, the racial stuff in this game, the labor issues in the development of the game, and the very nonchalant attitude that was taken by the studio, when it came to the real issue that, hey, these versions of the game are not performing where we need them to be. It's not like there was a term thrown around in Schreier's piece, referring back to the whole Anthem debacle and the quote unquote BioWare magic being the panacea that would make it work in the end, because we're BioWare. We
Mhm.
make good games. And it very much felt like they had the similar mindset, except we made The Witcher 3. And that's cool. You made The Witcher 3. That doesn't mean that just because you made that everything that you touch is going to be amazing just because you made that game. You still have to make the game that you're putting out.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it's just the
Just
the messaging and everything around the release and the continued has been weird. Like, yeah, we absolutely take responsibility, but also it wasn't our fault. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it just screams a lot of the nope, not it. And it's really frustrating. It's like you guys are a professional company, you're a global company, you have shareholders to answer to. Yes, I understand. You also have fans to answer to. Fucking pull your heads out your asses. Um, the fact too that the roadmap conveniently has no dates on it
Mhm.
is a little frustrating to me. But yeah,
Sometime
not
in
happy.
this year. Whenever. We'll figure it out. Slightly tangential to this, kind of interesting. So we have Indiana Jones announced as a game by Bethesda. No real date on it, just a very vague bit of hey, we're working on it, basically. Not even really any real information of what kind of game this is, but um, Machine Games has put out that they are looking for people who are into design game features that monetize and re-engage players in a consumer-friendly way.
Fuck.
Yeah, which basically after Wolfenstein Youngblood, which was entirely a hey, let's make money on the tail end, which I'm not actually terribly mad about Wolfenstein, honestly, because it was a bargain priced game and you didn't necessarily need to spend money on the tail end for it, so I'm a little more like, okay, fine, whatever on that, but don't put it in my fucking Indiana Jones. We've had enough bad Indiana Jones games. I want one that's alright. Please. Please.
How would that even work?
Yeah, how do you microtransaction Indiana Jones?
Well, I mean, there's an easy way to microtransaction Indiana Jones. You make cosmetics.
Indiana
Oh,
Jones wears
Oh
one
no.
outfit.
Yeah,
oh, I know.
okay. So
Sorry,
how
go
to
ahead.
microtransaction Indiana Jones? Hey, you know, there's this temple and it's amazing. And if you want to explore it, it's going to be an extra $5. And the thing that you need to be able to advance your gameplay may or may not be in that temple, so you might as well spend that $5.
You get extra indie points by going through the temple.
No, see, I excuse me, Jesus. I see that point definitely being more in the vein of like what Destiny 2 has done with their expansions,
Mm.
um, and that sort of thing. And that, yes, that if you, that could be something that could potentially be in the works. But like in terms of just like regular monetization and stuff, like there has to be some kind of cosmetic element into this sort of thing, microtransaction wise. I don't know. Either way, it's just a very odd construction for what a Indiana Jones game would be if it does end up going the live game route. Um, I'm on record as wondering why anybody wants an Indiana Jones game at this point. Um, I think I can't remember if we made it on this show or just in the Discord, but like you already have an Indiana Jones game. It's called Uncharted.
We did
Um,
on the show, yes.
yeah, okay. Either way, yeah, in a world where Uncharted exists, I don't really know what more you can do with the Indiana Jones franchise other than just, nostalgia buys, which of course will generate buzz. I mean, we saw how much buzz it did generate just in a very small cinematic that has become Bethesda's go-to practice when it comes to announcing a game that is definitely years down the line. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like Machine Games did not really do well with crafting a game of this style with Young Blood, and it makes sense they would try and hire people that might be better at it if they are taking that route with the Indiana Jones game. But it's just such a odd idea to try and make an Indiana Jones live game.
I would like God of War, but Indiana Jones. Can you do that for me, please? All right. Last story of the day, of course. Hitman 3 has also been in the news. So it's been really weird messaging around Hitman 3, that they were going to include Hitman parts of Hitman 1 and 2 as DLC into Hitman 3, but now they're walking it back and hey, if you own Hitman 1 and 2, okay, when you get Hitman 3, you're not going to get those sections off the bat, but we're figuring it out. It's kind of weird.
So the initial messaging around this was that Hitman 2 levels, and I believe possibly Hitman 1 levels also would be able to be imported if you already owned the games.
Mm.
But just today, IO Interactive went out there and said that PC players will not have to rebuy Hitman 2 to import those levels. I'm trying to scanning a statement right now. I apologize. Um, sorry, y'all. Let's see.
Let's see. You will not receive the Hitman 2 levels for free. Instead, the Hitman 2 Standard and Gold Access passes will be 80% off for the first 14 days. After the launch of Hitman 3, the standard version contains the levels from the release version of Hitman 2, and the gold version includes both of these base and DLC levels.
Ew.
So, but basically, they came out yesterday. Like I think it's the same thing you were saying. Like they're continuing to work on a solution to import locations at no additional cost. We can guarantee that players will not need to repurchase the games. So they haven't announced exactly what the plan is, but they are saying that they are not going to make people repurchase uh, the games in order to import those levels. So we'll see how that takes shape. The statement was kind of made jointly with, not like explicitly jointly, but was like supported by by Epic, as well. Who basically quote tweeted the announcement saying, "We never want players to feel forced to repurchase content on the Epic Game Store that they bought on another PC store so they can access features in a new game." So it seems like IO and Epic are working together to try and figure something out here. So yeah, I don't know. It's really focused on the PC version of the game because the first two games were available on Steam. I think Hitman 3 is a Epic exclusive for some time.
Yep.
I want to say, yeah, for 1 year. It's a 1 year exclusive on the Epic Game Store. So they're basically trying to work out a way where people can import that stuff without having to rebuy the games on on the Epic Game Store. So they're trying to make things right here. It's just a very messy situation all overall.
Yeah, the messaging is real bizarre, and I'll say that it's probably something that's not going to really affect most of the fans, but the core fans are the ones that you're pissing off with this sort of thing, and the core fans are the ones you don't want to piss off.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
should be noted that the levels does not affect at all the console stuff where the importation of levels is free as long as you are playing on the same console that you played the previous games on.
So fuck PC players then. Like that's what it's coming down to.
It's more about like the move to Epic, honestly. I think that just caused some conflict in terms of like, people that bought the first two games on Steam and, trying to move that data in the ways that they have to do to make it work. It seemed like it really looks like originally they were trying to get people to spend more money. Um and then that basically led to a huge backlash, which I don't blame them. Because if that's what you're getting, like if you're getting that on the consoles, then they should find a route to make that available on the PC as well. So I guess in a way, yes, fuck PC. In that way, at least initially. So IO's been good about doing make goods. So I'm curious to see what they actually work out. They said they'll have an announcement in the next coming weeks, which the game comes out in less than 2 weeks. So actually, less than probably I think it comes out in 2 days.
Yeah,
Actually,
Coop said 1 day and 2 hours for the PC release. So
yep, yeah, it comes out on the 20th.
yeah, IO is one of those companies that I've never really had any major disappointments from. So hopefully they will make it good, but I can't even follow. I am very glad to have you here, because even for somebody who has read all of the stories, I can't even follow all of the turns this has made into just a weird debacle and more reason for people to hate Epic Games. So, yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say like hate Epic Games, but definitely criticize Epic Games because this definitely like initially felt like very much like, oh, we have this property now, maybe we can get a little bit more out of it, even if we are discounting the game or making you buy a premium version of the game to do it. And people like there was an outcry,
Mm.
which rightfully so, because like you should not treat different platforms differently in that way. As we go back to Cyberpunk, in that way too. Don't treat platforms differently in that way.
All right, that is our final story of the day, but of course we cannot end an episode of Mr. Video Games without the Mr. Video Game of the Week award. And of course, that is the thing, person, place, noun that is so good, so bad, so awful, so amazing, something that you can only look at and go, that is fucking video games right there. And the winner for this week, of all things, is Parker Macmillan the Fifth. I still have no idea how to say that, but regardless, so Giant Bomb decided to ask Parker Macmillan the Fifth his top 10 games of 2020. His response, number 1, when Black Hole swallowed the moon. Number 2, the Grand Unslam game. Number 3, when Thomas Drasiana hit a ground out to Edric Tosser, / when Pitching Machine siphon blood, / Crover time, a 3-way tie in 3rd place. Number 4, when I hit a home run in the coffee cup. Number 5, Maximum Blaze Ball. Number 6, when Sandy Turner found the Blaggin' Ball. Number 7, Bugsnax, comma Gloria. Number 8, when the Hall Stars played the Pods. Number 9, Death Stranding. And number 10, Richardson Games.
Adore it. Absolutely adore it. It also should be noted that Gloria Bugsnax is not referencing fully the game Bugsnax. It's referencing both that as well as a player for the Boston Flowers named Gloria Bugsnax.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep.
I love it.
I love
so
how
much.
there's a different link for Bugsnax and Gloria in Giant Bomb entry here. There's Gloria.
I love it. It's so good. And also that this actually, I have to jump off, unfortunately. But before I go, this does lead me to the one news piece that we did not talk about this week that we needed to talk about because it's the biggest news of the week. Blaseball has a date, a tentative return date for Blaseball has been released, February 22nd.
Oh, I thought they were still at the percentages of a release date rather than a definitive release date.
Oh no, tentative. It's tentative.
Okay.
So like the percentages are still there, but February 22nd is looking like the most likely day for the return of Blaseball. And that is what I will leave all of you with for the evening. I enjoyed it. Y'all have a great last few minutes of the show. Follow me on Twitter at WonderboyOTM. Check out LGBT Ring Pod. Love you all. Talk to y'all next week.
Later. All right. Tomorrow we will be coming back for the finishing parts of The Last of Us 2 spoiler cast. So join myself and Brian tomorrow night, 8 p.m. As long as I don't fuck up royally on that again. But yeah, I want to thank everyone who came along for today's show. Coop, Giant Pie, Kelverin, Nomi. I believe there are other people. Giant Pie, I really am glad that your bitcoins are working out for you. so very well, and thank you for all of the bits today. Nobody has to pay us money to do the show, but none of us are going to complain about money going into the show in the first place. It has been a really weird. I want to give a time frame to really weird, but it has been a really weird. Um, it has all been really weird for all of the time that I can possibly brain think at the moment. So thank you for keeping along with us as we go through all of the strange that we have seen over this last time period chunk that I cannot possibly define. Cause maybe it's been a weird year. I don't even fucking know anymore. Merwin, do you have any final words?
Well, I missed Brian's farewell because my internet decided to go.
Oh, good.
And I spent 2 frantic minutes trying to figure out the fuck was going on. At any rate, Jesus Christ, Giant Pie, all the biddies. We love you so much. Thank you. You are very much contributing to the Keep the Dead Sun Crusade Fund. Um, I mean, as always, guys, like with the way this year and last year have gone, don't forget to love each other from a socially acceptable distance. Wash your hands, wear a mask, be the change you want to see in the world, and honestly, just be cool, okay?
All right, we will be back, of course. Follow each of us on the tweeters. We do sometimes do what tweets. Uh, there are discords. Follow the Dead Sun Discord. It has link what in doobly do. We love talking to you guys all week about lately way more political stuff. But hey, I'm sure there will be conversations to be had even tomorrow, even when we're looking at going into the Last of Us 2 podcast. So it's gonna be fucking weird. Anyway, thank you as always for joining us. I always, this is one of the best times for us of the week, so we're very glad to get to do this for you guys and with you guys, and just take care, have a good night, and a pleasant tomorrow. Oh, no, bye.
My brain is mush.
And bye.